Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar that NCS Soft Solutions is pleased to conduct today. It's on the topic of LFAR, or Long Form Audit Report, Audit in the Age of AI. Audit is always in the news, and for all the right reasons. And with the type of governance requirements that are there in banks in India and globally, and the financial services organizations, we felt we would like to cover the LFAR questionnaire toolkit that RBI, the Reserve Bank of India, has, and see what could be the type of changes, if any, that should come in it with the advent of AI. I'm Harshit Jain. I am founder and CEO of Sigma Advisory and a member of the advisory of Solutions. I'm really pleased to welcome the panel of eminent speakers today. Representing the banks, I have Ketan Merchant. He is the CFO at Fino Payments Bank. He has a long career in banks, in various banks around the world, in various functions before being the CFO at Fino Payments Bank. Welcome to the panel, Ketan. I'm pleased to introduce Dhananjay Gokhale. He's a chartered accountant and runs his own chartered accountancy firm. He's an eminent member of the community, and we are really pleased, Dhananjay, that you'll be sharing with us from your rich practical experience in this field. Last but not the least is my colleague and fellow advisor at NCS Soft Solutions, Muralidharan, who we call Murli. Murli has had a long and distinguished career in banks, primarily in State Bank of India, where he rose to be the Deputy General Manager in charge of audit function, and has been instrumental in bringing technology into audit at State Bank of India before retiring. And we are really pleased that NCS Soft Solutions has him as an advisor at our organization. I would also be wanted to thank my colleague and head of marketing, Sonia. She's the one who's actually been putting this up very diligently behind the scenes, and our CEO, Shanmugh, and COO and head of product management, Dinesh Asiroy, with whom it's been a privilege to go ahead and work and set up this series of awareness building information and to share our thought leadership with the people who have taken the time out to attend this webinar today. With that, I'll hand over to Ketan. If he can please introduce himself a little more in detail and give his own take on the topic of LFAR audit in the age of AI. And LFAR, some people call it LFAR, which I think Ketan calls it LFAR. So over to you, Ketan.
Yeah, thanks, Harshit. Let me just give a perspective about myself. You put some nice words. Yes, I'm a career banker. Worked across multinational banks, HSBC, Standard Chartered, Barclays, and then for last 7 years or so, I'm in Fino Payments Bank, a very, very interesting space to be in currently. The way the Indian banking framework is evolving. With this, I will directly go into a perspective of long form audit report. Actually, you're right, Harshit. People who've been into the banks typically call it LFAR, for a very long time. But and AI, so let me just start off with AI. AI is become a buzzword. All the reports which we read, that AI is going to change the way of functioning. AI is going to simplify things. In certain cases, AI, there are thoughts which come that AI will, take away some jobs, but so on and so forth. My perspective on AI, it is simple. It is something which will lead to a machine precision. A machine learning may always be a far better tool in terms of interpreting or analyzing anything. So the way I see it off is going forward, and this is my perspective, that AI will definitely grow. It will definitely make our life simple, and it will definitely help a decision-making process. Will AI take away or replace humans completely? I have a very clear view that the machine can only learn what it is allowed to learn, and humans can learn not in a pattern. Humans can learn, or their evolution or their decision making can be simplified, can be facilitated by machine learning and AI, but it cannot be fully replaced. It can, and I use the word fully replace. It can help a facilitation, for the routine jobs. Coming back to how can AI influence long form audit report, or for that matter audit, I think there is good amount of scope out here. Specifically coming to long form audit report, it is largely standardized. The Reserve Bank of India gives a standardized format, which may vary a bit based on the nature of the banks, universal, small finance, cooperative, payments bank, etc. But largely the framework is there. Typically, in my banking experiences, that that remains constant at least for 5 to 7 years, if not more. So there is a standard format, there is a standard set of data. It is very, very, as the name suggests, a long form. It is where the auditor gives a perspective to the management and further to the regulator and to the audience about his view along with the data points as well. The usage of AI out here can definitely, I mean, is there a use case? My answer is yes. The way I see it across is with the standardization of requirement existing of, if a AI tool can be put across on the systems or across the banks. Now that challenge, maybe I'll allow Dhananjay and Murli to add on that. The real challenge which comes across for any such tool is how will they read across the systems. Being a hardcore banker for larger part or full part of my career, the systems of banks are, all the banks I'm saying, are quite convoluted, and specifically if you go to the bigger banks, the agility of systems is not that high. API integration may not be as simple, but if all of that can be worked out, and a near 80-85% of the standard routine data can be culled out, then in my view the auditor, the precision of the auditor will definitely increase. The amount of time which an auditor would spend would not be on the data collation, or for that matter auditor or management, but would be on the insights, on the assumption that the machine learning or the AI data, what is coming across is coming to the point and it's reading across the system. So if that can happen, there is a very, very interesting use case. Again, two aspects. One is from the system side, how that solution cuts across all the system, and to what extent, or whether it helps to the extent of 60%, 80%, 85%, or of data to be culled out, and thereafter help the view formation to the auditor. So I'll take a pause out here in with my perspective. Harshit, you are on mute.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you very much, Ketan. It's really nice you have given the twin perspectives on long form audit report as well as the age of AI, and how audit can benefit from AI. I'll request now Dhananjay if he can please introduce himself in details and also give his take on this topic.
Thank you, Harshit, and it's a pleasure to be here and speak about the interesting topic about how the LFAR audit might undergo a change in the age of AI. I purposely use the word might. There is uncertainty, about that. A little bit about myself. I have been into practice since '97, and have a kind of a specialization in bank audit, and I am a regular contributor at Institute's guidance note, which is published every year on bank audits, and a regular faculty at various seminars of Institute. So that's a brief about myself. Coming to the point or subject matter of today's topic, firstly, I will just like to throw a little light about LFAR audit and how it kind of differs from independent audit report. Because as far as LFAR is concerned, LFAR is issued by the statutory auditor, but statutory auditors typically will give multiple deliverables, and LFAR is just one of it. So what we need to think about is how all those deliverables are aligned with each other when we talk about the AI and usage of that. So typically when we talk about independent auditors report, it's addressed to the shareholders, that is the stakeholders of any entity. And unlike independent audit report, the LFAR report, that is long form audit report, is addressed to the management of the bank. So it's basically to give an insight to the management of the bank about the operational side and also other aspects, wherein there might be certain things wherein certain discrepancies are there, which may not be affecting financial statements per se, but the auditor wants to bring it to the attention of the management. So that is the real purpose of long form audit report. As the name suggests, it's a long form audit report. It's exhaustive. But one thing which I would like to mention is in September 2020, RBI has revised LFAR in a thorough manner. And that was something which was a kind of a welcome move as compared to the earlier audit report or earlier LFAR format, I should say. The earlier LFAR format was not taking a kind of a recognition about the digital advancement of the banks. So the new LFAR actually, it has multiple aspects. Firstly, it is focused more about what the auditor is performing as a work in terms of audit. So the accountability of auditor is in a way increased. In a lighter vein, I should say that auditor cannot practically give now yes, no, not applicable answers. And he has to be very specific and pointed in his questions. At the same time, whatever is the work performed, that is also required to be stated in LFAR, which was not the case in earlier part. So just to give an example, suppose I verify, say, X number of loans and advances, I need to give those list of loans and advances which I have verified. Unlike earlier part wherein I can say that I have done it on a sample basis and I don't take the direct onus of it, even though my working paper files will include that. Having said that, the perspective of LFAR which has changed is earlier there was a lot of compilation of data which used to be there in LFAR, which has been completely eliminated. Now, what is really required is auditor needs to do a data analytics, understand the data structure and the reasons why a particular flow of data is available to him. Go through kind of do a deep diving in that, and then I arrive at certain conclusions. So it also includes certain components about testing of SOPs, which the banks has adopted. It also includes review of exceptional reports, which is there. Now, as far as branch LFAR and head office LFAR are concerned, there is a sea change in both the things. As far as branches are concerned, it's kind of more focused on loans and advances or branch operational areas. As far as head office LFAR is concerned, it's more about policies and comments about auditors' views about the policies of the bank, the actual implementation stage of certain policies. So the focus is altogether different in both this perspective. Now, when we talk about the changing approach towards the LFAR audit in the age of artificial intelligence, one thing is sure that it's definitely going to be a helpful tool for the auditor. And in the days of digital technology, the auditors are also changing the perspective from sample size, and they are going towards 100% verification. That's a more of an assurance. Actually, it's not exactly an absolute assurance, but whenever the data is entirely available to me, and if I'm able to adopt certain techniques to validate the data, I can give practically 100% assurance. Now, when I talk about LFAR, it's not that everywhere I can give 100% assurance. But if certain exceptional reports are available based on the requirements of those questionnaire or those scope that scope which is specified in LFAR, things will be much simpler for the auditor. One more important thing which I can see is typically in public sector banks branch audit, there is hardly any number of days which are available to the auditor, and many a times the data availability might be made little late. And as compared to that, there is a little time left for analyzing the data. In age of AI, what one can do is that there can be a predefined processes wherein against each pointer of LFAR, there can be certain preset procedures which the auditor can validate beforehand. There can be a testing of functionality of such exceptional reports which can be carried out. And then, after the year end, pulling out the data, culling out the information, doing the analytical process on that will be an easy thing. So what I foresee is that it will enable the auditor to deliver his audit function in an efficient way. It will also ensure that there is more accuracy which is there. But at the same time, we need to take it with a pinch of salt that the auditor should not rely blindly on the AI generated reports. So his professional skepticism should be always alive. And what is meant by professional skepticism is that one should not blindly rely on someone, and he should test it and then rely on it. So I think there is a way forward for LFAR audit with use of AI. But still, I should say that it's in nascent stage, and it will take maybe a couple of years or maybe some period to mature it to the model where auditor will have the time saving and spend time in more qualitative way. So that's from my end.
Thank you so much, Dhananjay. Really nice to have you on the panel, and to very lucidly you have gone ahead to share your views on this. I really like the way in which you mentioned about the professional skepticism, because with data, you can go ahead and have a lot of data turning into information. And what is the right information, what is the right database, it is valid as of what time, all of that can really go ahead and make a difference. And that is where, auditors would benefit a lot, I guess, from the way in which technology and more importantly, AI can be leveraged. With that, I'll now like to request Murli to please introduce himself and also share his take on this topic with all of us. Over to you, Murli.
Good evening to all. Basically, I'm a banker for a more than 37 years as a banker. 20 years as the banking operations, and then 15 years in IT, and another 5 years in audit, and 5 years in risk and compliance. So that is a variety of experience which I had. Now, as an advisor to the NCS board, regarding the topic with the LFAR audit in the age of AI, of course, the AI is being a buzzword, and it is being almost all the banks are started utilizing the AI. First, they are now concentrating on the business side. Whatever the data, customer data is available, how they can be used for the business, that part they have been taking much more interest, and audit is being now evolving. In case of audit, it is being evolved to see whether they can prevent reduce the risk level. That level they have been thinking in the internal audit side. Maybe it will be extended to the statutory audit or LFAR soon, because that is only an extension of the internal audit. And as he said, the LFAR is a very critical audit, because one is both for the bank as well as for the auditors. It is within a time frame, very short time. As Dhananjay said, it will be a very, very short time, which you have to see a version. And if you miss out anything, that is also that accountability. So all those things are there. So hence, the volume of data to be analyzed. In fact, because of the increase in the digital introduction of the digital area, the volume of transaction to be looked into are multiplying to a great extent. So that is also the reason which will be difficult, and the bank also to provide the meet the requirement of the auditors, because auditor comes there and within a short period they are supposed to provide them the data which they ask for it. So all these things requires a technological solution. Without technology, it will be very, very difficult to manage. Of course, we have seen the earlier stages. I have seen the earlier stages of how it is being handled manually. So now it is impossible. It used to be done through technological solution, and the because of the auditors' requirement, the bank also has to provide them to the maximum data, so that their comments and remarks are actuals. Because something, if you only if you provide them a correct data to the auditor, then only he can take a right remarks. Otherwise, the things may go wrong, because this LFAR audit is the things which are going to be submitted to the bank board management as well as to the regulator. So whatever the third party assurance given about the bank to a regulator, because regulator also will go through the audit, but this is a third party assurance. From the third party angle, what would be the things? But if that is not given, the auditors are not given proper input, proper support through technology and AI, the things which expect the bank, what is expectation may go wrong, because it's only whatever he understood it, he could be able to express in these things. So this is how the basic reason why we require a technological solution. Of course, wherever it is feasible, we can introduce the RBI. The solution, if it is there, always it helps us to the availability of data, because nowadays, even I think Mr. Dhananjay was saying that 4 or 5 days. That recent times, I think, is only 2 days or 3 days are allowed for the bank to generate the data, all forms of returns, and give it to the auditor, because they require auditor to complete it by 15 days. So naturally, we'll have to provide them the data, and the data has to be obtained directly from the system. So the source data is being provided to the auditor. So that helps the auditor in somewhat a governance level, because whenever there is a manual intervention, always there is a doubt. Even for the system, you should have a doubt, but for the manual interventions, always will have a complete doubt. So the system-based data is available in the solution. And next one is that it helps us to improve the governance part. That is the major role which is coming now, because wherever everybody, the whole world is looking for the governance now. So that governance part is there. And for a product, if it is just like an NCS, you can say ethic product, it is almost meets the audit standards, which, because it is being implemented across all the banks, you have been following certain standards, audit standards, and those audit standards are being maintained, are not being compromised for the business, because it is a product. The product value should be there. So that part is being taken care. So such a kind of a product, if it is there, it will always help the auditor, and auditor can confidently depend upon the solutions to a great extent. That is one part. And I think the branch audit, lesser time is there. Of course, the solution has to be provided, and the solution also will help in consolidation. That is a major thing, which is LFAR is the major time, because thousands of auditors will be submitting the remarks. All of them are to be analyzed. What is to be included in the main, what is to be included in the LFAR to be decided within a short period. Those kind of a consolidation, and then helping them to arrive at a proper solution, and helping the banks to produce the evidences, so that they can reduce the audit observations, unnecessary remarks. This also will help them. I think that is the part for the generally solution, which helps the audit side, the auditor also.
Thank you very much, Modi, for a very elaborate response that you've given. Being an auditor today is tough, right? Because apart from being an auditor, they're also expected to know a lot of technology. They're also expected to be, having the skills of a forensic expert, and a variety of things that is expected, by the regulators, by the senior management of the bank. So help is near, because I'm really pleased to share that NCS Soft Solutions has been a leader among banks in India with over a 75% market share. And I'm really pleased to say that with the support of all our customers, the banks that have been using and have shown confidence in our Ethic product suite, that just a fortnight back, we got the award for having the most innovative platform, for audit by the tech pioneers, and for having the most disruptive and innovative audit platform. So with that, we are of course over here to go ahead, assist the auditors in their quest for going ahead and doing things accurately, being able to manage the audit of large volumes of data, large branch network, digital presence, uh, aspects of cyber attacks and so on that are part of a reality today. So with that, I in fact wanted to invite the views of Ketan again as to how does he see an organization like NCS Soft Solutions that is wanting to be a thought leader in this field of audit and GRC solutions? How can we go ahead and play a role to make life easy for the bankers and specifically for the auditors that are there in the bank? Over to you, Ketan.
Thanks, Harshit. One nice aspect was whether it was me or Dhananjay or Murli, all of us emphasized or agreed on one aspect that whatever we call it, whether we call it AI, we call it machine learning, we call it data analytics, enhanced tools, or we call it automation in simple terms. AI would be a sophisticated engine for all of that. My point is, the way I see it off, and maybe I'm speaking on behalf of Dhananjay as well, because whether it's an auditor or audit team, one aspect which is required, for the lack of better words, I may say a straight through processing जैसे होता है ना, वैसे straight through data uh, going into the tool. Okay, how the success or otherwise of any tool for a use case lies in its agility of how will it read data from systems. If you just go back to the so-called banking giants or the complex balance sheets which India carries, I can share some of my experience of the past that uh, 15% data comes from this system, 20% comes from that system, and 35% comes from XYZ system, core banking, SAP, whatever. Writing a AI tool all across, how will it come through? Okay, I think that is a challenge. If that can be cracked, and for that, again, I'm not a technical expert, but if a tool can be devised with the right kind of the APIs where this can be integrated, according to me, as I said, the first 70 or larger part, 75-80% of the data requirements can be worked out. The remaining 15% or 15-20%, I agree with Dhananjay that he used a better jargon. That will be the professional discretion of how the data is analyzed and how it is forming a view. Maybe 10 years from now, all of us would be saying it of that 15-20 percent as well. 10% AI has been able to, AI has been able to give that professional view as well. Okay, maybe that 15% becomes a 5%. But as things stand now, the focus for any tool has to be to crack a unified tool or a unified code in whatever language it is called to run across and get the data sorted in a manner where it can be have a simplified storage from a bank's perspective and from an auditor's perspective as well. So if it comes this way, obviously if I just go back and wear an auditor hat and not a line hat anymore, the comfort which inherently an auditor will get, not on the intent, but the precision which it comes through, will also be very high. So, auditor in the short time with both Dhananjay and Murli emphasized that the time available, there can be a good justice which the auditor can do and give a more qualitative report or more quality enhanced report to the management.
Thanks a lot, Ketan. I want to share something over here with you. It's very interesting that you mentioned about the data and how the data is going to be used and analyzed. The good thing I see is that a lot of banks are going ahead with data warehousing, so that you have a lot of single repository of data being pulled from across the bank from various different systems, and you'll be happy to know that we have in fact during the onset of COVID co-created value with one of the banks because they said nobody is coming to the bank anymore, including the auditors. but business has to go on. So how do we go ahead and do the audit when nobody wants to come to the bank to do the audit with using the physical records? So that's where we have actually gone ahead and created a very innovative product. It's called Ethic Cam, continuous audit automated monitoring, where on a daily basis we are getting the information from the data warehouse, which is then checked against the business rules to save any discrepancies, anything that is missing, so that when the auditor is going, they are actually going ahead, hopefully with everything that has been done already cleaned up. And this is not on a sampling basis because it's 100% data that is coming every day. So you can imagine it's like doing an audit on a T+1 date basis. So when the auditor physically goes to the branch, hopefully they have a very clean book to go ahead and see. So, but thanks for what you said about how the single way in which the data can come from various sources so that it can be analyzed in a single and efficient manner. Dhananjay, your take on...
Sorry, Harshit, just one point before we hand over to
Sure.
Dhananjay. To answer, you had a very good question that how can any software solution company, make a real change in this? So, a single line answer is a tool which is agile and has an right APIs to run across bank systems. I think that is what if I would be looking at it, and it is easier said than done. I think we are all bankers or bank auditors out here. It may not be as simple. So if anyone can crack that, I think that will be a stepping stone for the value add which all of us can get. Sorry, over to you, Dhananjay.
Sure.
I will just add a couple of points. Few to supplement what Ketan said. Few to kind of disagreement also. First thing is that as far as, we talk a lot about constraint of time actually, which the auditor has. Now, my take on that is it's a created constraint and not really something which is really warranted. There is ample time which is available and there is no reward for, completing audit at, first place or second place. Now, having said that, it's fine not to extend audit beyond a particular point, but there has to be a sufficient time available. Now, when we talk about AI tools or AI assisted, I should say CAT tools, firstly, what we need to critically see is that whether the data is available to for those tools or not. Because on an overall basis, what the auditor is facing a problem is that the data is not made available for his analysis. Forget about getting a data dump. That is something which is a mirage. And, unless and until that data availability is there, practically all these things can never work. So it's time actually that the data availability and the requirement for data availability for effective audit is something wherein audit as well as auditor has to mature. At the same time, whenever any AI based tool is built up or any CAT tool is built up, we should not forget about a critical functional testing of that tool. Because what I have seen in the past is, as far as CBS system is concerned, I will give a simple example. RBI has been after the banks for system-based NPA, wherein it is expected that the entire IRAC circular will be automated. All the banks, all the CBS vendors confirm that. At the same time, there are certain things which are beyond the limit. You cannot kind of program it actually. You can't code it. So there are certain things which might be left out. Now, as far as this functionality testing is concerned, whenever we are adopting any AI technology, it has to be thoroughly tested. The inputs which go on in building such tools, actually, it should be a kind of a combined efforts for all the stakeholders so that all the angles are covered actually. And it's not a one-sided kind of a thing. Second thing is that the crux of audit or any effective audit is that there should not be any predictability as far as the audit function is concerned. So there is a high probability that when we use AI tool, we might be losing that surprise element in that. At times it becomes a kind of a predictable thing as to what will be checked. Once we know that, what is the algorithm of any checking. So it will be interesting to see that how the dynamism will be brought into AI assisted tools. Not by just generating a random number and creating a random samples, but at times, human brain work in a little different way. So which is not really programmable. So there has to be some customization which should be available with the user of the system. Another point is that as far as system integration is concerned, as Ketan rightly said, or even Harshit, you were saying that data warehousing is the buzzword. At the same time, the overall experience is that even though the data warehousing is there, the connect between the data which are collated in data warehousing itself is absent. So one needs to have a clean database to have that effective AI tools working on that. And that's something which is challenge as of today. Maybe in days to come, it might get ironed out. But as I can see, actually, there are multiple applications which are used, and there are repetitive fields which are there probably in multiple databases, which may or may not sync with each other. That's a very common kind of a issue, which all the bankers are also struggling with. And there is nothing secretive about that. One more point is that as far as audit function is concerned, it's always done on a cutoff date. And at times what really happens is database keeps on updating. And at times it's a overwritten database, wherein the earlier database may not be easily accessible. So certain precautions will be required to be taken that on which database the auditor has worked out and on which database all the outputs have been given to the auditor. And last but not the least, the usage of those AI tools and a kind of customization of that. It's like a menu-driven package. If it can be built up, that will be a real kind of a solace for the auditor to use it the way he wants. And one last point I will add. There are standards on auditing actually, which are prescribed by ICAI as far as any audit function is concerned. So if that is combined along with the AI tools, like there are certain documentation requirements are there. There are certain checks and balances are there, which auditor has to do as his internal, working paper file or internal workings. Now, ultimately, when he's doing LFAR audit in a digitized form or in a age of AI, that is something which even the auditor will require, that whichever tool he has worked on, there will be certain backup of that which auditor will also require. And that will be the real testing point as to usage of AI tools and giving that database and output available to the auditor for his own consumption or for his own record. But I'm sure that AI will reduce kind of repetitiveness in audit function. It may not really replace audit per se. And Harshit, as you were mentioning about the continuous audit process, which is carried out right now, there are certain inherent limitations on that as far as LFAR is concerned, because LFAR is not really about operational part. It's more about verification of documentation and other part. So probably in days to come, what might happen, and it can be a sea change. Just to give a simple example, now many banks are sanctioning digital loans. So practically there is no underlying document per se which is available for verification. It's more of OTP based or Aadhaar based authentication, wherein terms and conditions are accepted by the borrower, and there is no physical existence of that. So it's more about the testing of those systems which will be required to be done by the auditor rather than going through the documentation part. And we never know, how the technology changes, like, how the payment mode of all the payments have changed from checks to NEFT, RTGS and to UPI in a short span of manner. So in days to come, suppose, things undergo change in the way the banking operations are carried out. Naturally, it will have a state of ramification even on LFAR based audit.
Thanks so much, Dhananjay. And I really like the point that you have mentioned about the functionality testing, because one of the things that is there is that with the best of efforts and the stress testing, regression testing, everything that gets done, I do encourage and would like the banks also to go ahead and do the full sort of thorough testing of the software, because at the end of the day, software is software. And we just need to make sure that our reliance on software for such a critical function as audit is something which is like foolproof. So totally agree with you about this. I also wanted to share something which we learned from one of our bank who has been using us and our product suite, and that was actually quite unexpected when I heard about it, because on a daily basis when you're seeing the audit, and we see that, there's a discrepancy, the passport copy of the customer has not been submitted, right? And that's where the bank actually started seeing that, we are already holding a passport copy. So why should we go ahead and ask the passport copy again from the customer at the time of a fresh, new product being taken by an existing customer? So that made them think that, do we really need to go ahead and ask the customer for a passport, or can we not go ahead and look at the passport, see if it is valid, then don't inconvenience the customer? So what I'm trying to bring up over here is that, the customer experience bit, which is again gaining a lot of traction, because every organization is trying to differentiate themselves with the type of customer experience that they're able to offer, again, there is merit for us to look at what type of reports that are coming from an audit perspective and see how you can streamline the processes that the bank may have been following, which are, for the pre-digital age, right? So thanks a lot, Dhananjay and Ketan. Only I'd like you to go ahead and, share what your thoughts are on the points that Dhananjay and Ketan have made.
Regarding the points which raised by Sir Ketan, actually for now the data are being directly pulled in and given in the format itself. Of course, nearly 40% of the LFAR data is being directly given to the auditors from the system. But of course, it depends on how much leverage which is given by the bankers. Because technically it's capable of giving everything, whatever is the system is available. And one of the advantage for the NCS is already we are in the audit platform. Audit solution is running there. So the audit solution will have access to the database, as you said, AP through API, or they are providing data to us. The data is almost available. So those, based on those data, it can be pulled in and given to the experience which we gained it, we can be given to the maximum extent whatever is feasible. Unless the Mr. Dhananjay was saying about the quality aspects, which we will leave it to them. Whatever is data based, that can be provided to them, and even some analytics also we can provide it to them, so that they can take whether I have to look into it or I can depend on the analytics. That always that things should be made available to the auditor. Auditor has to take a decision. And one more addition which normally is in the NCS audit application is, now all the relevant audits, observations by an internal auditor in various audits are available on a single click. If you say, if the LFAR or the auditor wants to see that, he can click it and then he will find out what are all the observations made into various audits. What is the status of it? So that will help them, instead of going through all the things, that will help them to save their time. Because already somebody has given that, and every person is an independent person. Different audit, not by the same person, different person, different view, something could have come. So that part is also there. And of course, Janji was telling about the data quality, which of course we know the data quality, which we cannot ensure that. Even RBI is taking their level best to improve the data quality, but still it is happening because the old legacy system data is still there in the system. So at least over the period, it keeps on improving that. And these kind of things, if it helps the auditor to go for an audit. Thing is, the transactions are being analyzed just like a CAM, and the transaction monitoring system are being analyzed on the day-to-day basis. And there are certain patterns which are there, which normally provides to the give assurance to the operations as well as to the internal audit department for them to improve themselves, mitigate and improve the risk. But same thing may be available to the statutory auditor so that he can have a view of entire thing and then find out his view, whether it is improving, whether it is going in a different direction. Something will always help them, because naturally technology only can help the auditor, otherwise it's very difficult. And I think the AI part basically cannot predict something for the auditor, but it can help the auditor putting some kind of an analysis. Only that will be a better part, I feel.
Thanks a lot, Murli. It's been an interesting, discussion. Thanks to the three of you for your thoughts and the points that you have made. I'd like to now throw open the floor to the attendees who are attending this session. If anyone has any questions, or you would like to ask the panel or any of the panelists a question, please do raise your hand and let us know. I have a first question that has come here from Shreya Zaveri. And she says, can you please share how CAs could use AI in the stat audit season, Dhananjay sir?
Yeah, as far as the current season of tax statutory audit is concerned, that is March 25. Frankly speaking, we have a very limited scope of using AI tools for the simple reasons because banks have yet to adopt it in a real sense. If you happen to have certain predefined Excel spreadsheets or predefined worksheet formats, that is something which one can use, but that will be a kind of a primitive stage kind of a tools, and it's not really AI tool per se. So we probably need to wait for that AI tools to get matured, get acceptance from bankers to accept that AI tools should be used for statutory audit and as far as LFAR is concerned. And then probably we'll be able to make that work. At the same time, if someone is doing a central audit, central statutory audit, or maybe a statutory audit of a UCB wherein he's a head office auditor, as of today, what most of the central auditors are doing they are taking the help of AI-based CAD tools. And when I say AI-based, it's nothing like a jargon actually. It's more of predefined set of parameters or predefined way how the data analysis will be done. And one has to always remember a golden rule that AI should work for the audit and audit should not work the way the AI is functioning. So it's an assistance actually and facilitator. And one should not be just going by whatever answers are thrown by AI, we should simply go by that. So you need to define the process, check that whether AI is capable to handle those processes and handle the database, and then only effectively use it. Otherwise, discard that AI side as of time, for the time being. If you are not able to rely on that and adopt it the way you are doing. And last but not the least, see, whenever we talk about AI and other things, it's more like an open book kind of a scenario. You need to know that which book is authenticated or which book can give you an authenticate answer rather than searching on Google and finding multiple solutions and then saying that a particular solution is suitable for me, so I will adopt it. So you need to be first very clear about what you are going to refer, how much you can rely on that, and then only move on.
Thanks so much. I really liked your example about the open book examination and which is the right book to pick up, particularly when you have paucity of time. In any other questions? Okay, I have one more. This is from Sharmukh Vail, our CEO. What will transform happen in the LFAR audit? What is the type of transformation that the panelists are expecting in LFAR audit?
Should I answer?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, you should go first.
See, actually, as far as LFAR audit is concerned, the present format of LFAR, again, I will bifurcate that into head office and branch. As far as head office format is concerned, it's more about reviewing the policies of the bank, testing the SOPs and policies of the bank, verifying that whether they are in the regulatory compliance or not, and then commenting upon that. So it's more of an auditor's perspective which will get reflected, wherein AI will be handy to analyze as to whether the SOPs which the bank has defined is working or not. So it's more of a kind of a confirmatory, tool which one can, have, not to answer questions in LFAR, because that is something which the auditor has to do. We cannot expect that AI will throw up the LFAR answers and only that should be adopted. When it comes to the branch, actually, there are certain, areas wherein the data is required to be pulled from the system, analyzed, and answers are given. Like, cash balance related, areas, or there are certain areas wherein continuously vote on status or other things are there. So that's where the AI can be taken as a good tool to save the time and rely on those tools to a certain extent. That's where it will be a kind of a time saving. It won't replace auditor per se, but it will save time for the auditor for a qualitative work rather than quantitative work. So that's what, I feel will transform the LFAR audit.
Sure. Ketan, Murli, you want to add something?
I can go in. The way I understood the question is, one is the AI. How will AI facilitate? I think Dhananjay elaborated that quite well. I think if I just recollect or understand the question, it was how will long-form audit report per se transform itself on its standalone basis?
Correct.
I can, maybe I'll take 30, 60 seconds on this. See, this is very interesting. In my opening remarks, I did mention that the banks are evolving. With the fintech space coming across, not only in India, globally, the way banking happens, that is getting evolved. While I can, we are a listed entity, listed bank, I can give our example. We do, huge amount of transactions across the banking sector with limited number of branches. Okay, so we use the mom and shop model for banking. Digital has completely changed the facet, whether we call it UPI or any other product. My personal sense is banking itself and all the banks will increasingly be coming under a agility competition, if I can use that way, with the fintechs to make their own niche on a relatively efficient model. So over next 4 5 years, forget the long form audit report. I see the banking landscape itself very majorly changing from the traditional mindset or the traditional point which we have. Dhananjay earlier alluded how it's all going towards digital, etc. So with that, again, long form audit report is largely prescriptive, as we said. Okay, with that, definitely the new regulations will come across. If all of us just go back over last 2 years, the regulator has been putting a lot of emphasis on the cyber activities and operational challenges and so on and so forth. So I think over next 4 5 years, it will be inching more towards a different facet of banking, from simple deposit taking to lending, towards how digitization of the banks and how banks evolve themselves from fintech, and that will have a big knock-on impact coming. Whether that makes the test case for AI slightly more tenable, the answer is yes. It will, because with all the due respect, or all due thoughts, which I think all of us as professionals carry, it will practically become impossible for using our professional skepticism or professional discretion beyond the point. 85% or 95% will have to be coming from with precision from this. And just to conclude, I am also on the same side as what Dhananjay said. The remaining 5 to 10%, whatever that is, that professional skepticism or discretion or judgment will remain with the auditor, and that's how it should be. I, as an auditee, also would recommend that.
Thanks a lot, Ketan. I'll just move in the interest of time to the next question, which is from Kokila Murli. What recent regulatory changes have impacted LFAR audits the most? Anyone wants to take it?
Yeah, as far as regulatory changes are concerned, it's never, they don't directly impact the LFAR because the LFAR structure remains the same. Only thing is that whenever any line item of LFAR is verified by the auditor and commented upon, he has to take into account all the RBI regulatory norms which have undergone a change throughout the year. So it's not really confined to a particular point per se. Just to give an example, like for loans and advances, you have to refer to the management of advances circular, you have to refer to the exposure norm circular, you have to refer to the IRAC norm circular. So, every year there will be multiple circulars which will be issued, and auditor has to keep themselves aware about those circulars. And it won't directly impact LFAR per se. But while answering all those circulars will be required to be factored in. So LFAR will not undergo any change as such.
And I think the last change that you said happened in 21. So in that sense,
September 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2021 was the financial year.
Sure. Thanks. Next question from Anila K. Is there any reliable AI tool available which will be helpful in LFAR? Can any of the panelists show practically how to use that tool with an example?
Shit, the best person to answer this is perhaps Murli, as compared to me or Dhananjay.
Yeah, Murli, you want to take this on?
As of now, the AI, even the buzzword, AI is not directly implemented, but only the analytics we have been helping them to develop. So assist the auditors. That is where it comes. Still, the AI part directly implementing this area is not there. Some of the areas which can help, Mr. Dhananjay was telling about the branch audit where the times are being spent on documentation. The documentation itself is read through the system, and then system will provide only exceptions, whatever is to be seen. The digital reading of the documents and the whatever you said about the digital transactions. All the digital transactions, the document is not there in physical copy. So those are being analyzed on a regular basis and the exceptions are being thrown out. Those exceptions will help the auditors because they're being rectified also. Whenever it is there being given to the auditee for rectification, that is being done. Even in the CAM also, whatever is being observed, uh, merely to why surprise, even the CAM side, when we give the observations, 95% of the things have been rectified. So that kind of a level is improving. So this will have definitely help them to develop, but AI part is not that case. Okay, this
Thanks,
part
thanks, Modi. I think
we have been they were designing to have improve it, but as of now, straight away, it is not there. Direct tool is
thanks,
not there.
thanks, Modi. I think thanks to the panelists, there's a lot of interest that is there. So I'll just move to the next question. This is from Manas Soman. Whether banks need to purchase this as a separate software like audit software, whether auditor can use various reports generated from AI software as valid audit evidence.
Well, if in the interest of silence, I'll just go through it. I think this answer is not that simple. Um, Eventually, the onus of giving the data lies with the bank, as Dhananjay rightly said. Okay, so typically, if a bank is seeing a value add that instead of the data which is being given to the auditor for his analysis or for his true and fair view or for his elaborate comments, it should also be taken by the bank, provided it see a commercial and economic sense coming out of this as well. To answer it off, can auditor do it off? Actually, auditor by itself may not be able to implement it off because whatever tool he has, or it has to have a coming back to my earlier point in terms of the API linkages, etc., which may not be standardized across the bank. So to answer the question, these sort of tools should be a value add from the bank's perspective to facilitate getting a quality output or quality report coming from the auditor.
Thanks, Ketan. I think it's something that we have noted, and I'm pleased to share that we are already working on how we can use AI use cases to enrich our ethic product suite. One more, I think the last two questions now, one from Durai Murugan. Hi, sir, the LFAR audit is applicable only banks or other sectors like NBFC, insurance, etc.?
It's applicable to NBFCs and insurance, but the formats are slightly different.
Okay.
So LFR is very much applicable, but formats are drastically different actually, especially about insurance.
Thanks. The last question is from Tom Bushman. Thank you for the very great views and inputs thus far. I have the following question. Is there something which customers could do or be encouraged by the bank to be doing that would help the banks to be competitive under increasingly agile competition?
Sorry, Harshit, I just missed this the question understanding.
Sure, I'll just, okay, it's gone. I think the question from Tom Bushman was about, the software AI that is there. How is it going to help in making the competitive advantage under agile scenarios count? What is your view about that?
So I presume this question is not related to long form audit report,
Yeah.
but I per se agree on this question that the usage of AI, for coming out with cohorts, coming out with predictability, and Dhananjay made a very nice point. Predictability is the least which you require in audit, but predictability is the most you require in the in your business decisions. So understanding customer pattern, using an example that based on XYZ behavioral patterns, which has the potential to go into NPAs and the right kind of nudges. If an AI can throw all of that, I think I am pretty confident that all of this, the way the banking space, specifically some of these customer centricity aspects and leveraging data or cross sell, that AI is going to make a big impact in terms of nudging the bank for focusing on the right target segment. So there is a big use case, and in fact, if you ask me, there is a very the differentiation. It can come into AI as a stage two, but in customer centricity or in a business decision, AI, for the reason which I just explained of, AI will play a very big part.
Thank you so much. With that, we come to a close for today's webinar. I want to thank Ketan, Dhananjay, and Murli for very elaborate answers, your views and thoughts that you've shared with all of us. I also want to thank Sonia for putting up this webinar together, and I want to thank all the attendees who have taken their time to attend this session. And you could see the interest from the number of questions that were asked. But please keep it ongoing. Share any questions that you may have. We'll get the answers for you from the panelists. And for those of you who are interested, we'll share a copy of the recording to you with you for your ready reference. Thanks once again, and please join me in applauding the panelists that were there for today's webinar. Thank you so much, Ketan. Thanks a lot, Dhananjay. Thank you, Murli.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harshit, for moderating it very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye.